Is breaking into the top 6 an impossible job for mid-table sides? Leicester and Wolves have both shown positive signs and seem to be the likely options heading into next season. Achieving this would be a tremendous accolade, but what exactly are they up against? On the back of promotion from the Championship, Wolves were the dark horses in August of 2018, and their quality was proven by recently finishing 7th place. They won exactly half of their games and therefore qualified for Europa League football next season. For Leicester City, the first half of the season wasn't so great, which finally led to Claude Puel being sacked on the 24th of February after one win in 9 games. Brendan Rodgers came in and transformed the playstyle, with Maddison and Tielemans playing a pivotal part in the team. As a creative partnership, they assisted 5 times and grabbed 6 goals in the 10 games under Brendan, who finished the season with a solid 50% win ratio. And let's not forget, they arguably have the best defensive mid in the Premier League with Ndidi, who has been crucial for Leicester in back-to-back seasons now. This midfield would play a huge part in Leicester's success next season, and it's clear to see how much it impacts the whole squad. Whether they'll be able to keep it together is a big problem. Maddison has already had links to the top teams in the Premier League, while Tielemans was only on loan from Monaco, and with how he performed in his time there, it's no surprise that higher profile teams are interested in him too. Wolves have important players in Ruben Neves, Diogo Jota and Jimenez, to name a few. However, Jimenez just signed permanently after being on loan last season. Diogo Jota, there doesn't seem to be any talk about him leaving at all, which leaves Ruben Neves, and he's the only one with speculation of him being sold. A strong link to Liverpool seems like it might drag out all summer, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them pick him up before the deadline shuts. Players leaving either of the clubs will hurt them if they're looking to progress, which means the recruitment for new players has to be top quality. Next season, Wolves will be competing in the Europa League, which means the toughest season yet for some of these players. Last year had a huge impact of Burnley's performance in the league, but possibly Wolves have the extra quality and depth to be able to cope. On the other hand, Leicester are free from European football, so this will help them long term next season. But with Brendan Rodgers in charge, he will want to achieve something, so maybe a cup run might be on the cards for them in an attempt to win a trophy. Leicester will have the advantage on Wolves here, as fatigue will play a big part depending on how far Wolves progress in the Europa League. Wolves had an excellent record versus the bigger teams last season, beating Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United and Tottenham, and a draw against Man City too. Their problem was beating the sides in the bottom half, who sit back and don't let them attack as freely as they want to. If this issue was resolved by manager Nuno Espirito Santo, we could really see Wolves challenge for top 6. The fantastic performances against the bigger sides may also mean good progression in the Europa League, as they could play some of the top teams in that competition too. We covered that Maddison, Tielemans and Ndidi had been key players for Leicester, but why? In the Premier League, Maddison made the most key passes, Ndidi made the most tackles and came 3rd in most interceptions, and Tielemans picked up 4 goals and 3 assists in his 10 games under Brendan Rodgers, which is quite impressive for someone who's never played in the Premier League before. In my opinion, this isn't a one-off, and this midfield could guide the Foxes into the top 6. Other than these two, could anyone else break into the top 6? The other obvious choice would be Watford. However, they started to slip up at the end of the season, so I don't see them being as consistent as Wolves or Leicester. It also depends on how teams recruit. So with potential new owners at Newcastle, could we see them break into the top 6? Maybe not next season, but sometime soon. It would be down to how much money is invested transfer-wise, whether they can keep Rafa and who they'd spend the money on. Next season, I'd see Newcastle finishing in a solid mid-table position. If the takeover happens, then this would be the perfect way for Newcastle to progress. I don't see them being contenders further up the table in 2020, but with a new vision at the club, it may be a possibility in the next couple of years. I don't imagine Wolves or Leicester will have goals for the top 6 next season. For Wolves, it could be keep top half, keep 7th spot, and a respectable attempt at European football, which for me means no top 6 if they are to go far in the Europa League. And for Leicester, I'm fairly certain on this: 7th spot and a hard push in the FA or League Cup. If top 6 happens for either of these teams, it will be a big overachievement taking into account the quality of the teams above them. In football, who knows? The odds will be against them, but Leicester were 5,000 to 1 in 2015.